Martin. Welcome to Stockholm. Welcome to the 4th edition of the Data 2020 Summit. We're really pleased to have you with us. So before we go on, please tell us more about your background.
I have been in the transport business for some 25 years and done various management roles. And last 10 years I've been concentrating on data management, on actually all shades of data management, up to a point where I developed an organization that covers the end-to-end data view.
Martin, your experience is remarkable. So you have set up data management organizations for 3 global market leaders. So what did you prioritize? Is there a secret, and how do we actually glue all of these parts together? If there is such an answer, that
there's no one secret, right? It's maybe the secret is that in none of the aspects it is one of the extremes. That's right. You have to balance extremes. You have to balance the correctness of the data model against the flexibility of the workforce to adopt it. You have to have a balance between the speed of implementation. People expect you to implement quickly versus the correctness of and the solidity of the underlying infrastructure. So it's always finding a good balance that allows you to reach your targets without losing the people that you need to take with you.
You gave a talk today about the data governance in big corporations. So can you tell us briefly why data governance, what is involved in it, some considerations and some of its main challenges nowadays?
Data governance is not everything, but everything else won't work without proper data governance. So nobody would do things right, instinctively right, or automatically right. People need a guidance, they need a framework that they can follow, plus the explanations why they follow. And all of that is, for me, under data governance, where you describe all the non-technical aspects of handling all types of data.
There was a lot of talk about the interlink between data quality, an important facet of ensuring everything is accurate and fit for purpose, and the data governance on the other side. So according to you, what department should initiate and define the data quality strategy? And how are these two components interlinked?
Yeah. First of all, these two components are interlinked in that every component requires data governance. Data quality requires data governance as well, to describe who is going to define the data quality, who is going to define the quality indicators, the minimum quality, the follow-up actions, the responsibilities, and so on, right? And as part of that governance, you would ideally define a data office or chief data officer to be responsible for the framework, right? How do we deal with data quality targets? How do we process data quality? How do we measure it, and so on? While the different business functions should define what data quality means in the particular context. Because that's what they are supposed to know best.
Exactly. And how do you get the senior management's attention in investing and considering actually improvements, investments in all of these fields?
The key thing is address their problems, not your problem, right? If you talk to a chief finance officer and tell him that his application XYZ is not compliant with the corporate data model, that may be your concern as a chief data officer. It may not be the chief finance officer's concern. Instead, try to find out what the key players' concerns are. Now that's the key content of the dialogue in the beginning. Talk to them and say, what are your pain points? and then see how you can address those pain points. And then they consider you a problem solver.
And who is responsible for the data governance in an organization?
Ideally, a neutral body. If it is one of the existing business functions, you may get a conflict of interest because they have to define data governance for themselves and how they can work around it. So ideally you have a neutral body, ideally on the business side, because this is a business perspective. And then maybe you have a board member that's responsible for technology, for change. As long as it is a board member with a cross-functional mandate, that's the place for a chief data officer and a data office to be located below.
I have one final question, Martin. With all of these buzz about AI, it was mentioned today that there is no AI before, if there is no right information architecture management stuff. But what is your prediction for the near future?
Yeah, I won't tell you all the good things that I expect to happen. I'd rather share with you a concern, because with the increasing maturity of software, people will increasingly rely on their software. They will take the software as a black box that just does everything they expect it to do, and they don't know exactly what's going on inside the software. As a result, the software will deliver something that people will tend to unconditionally believe. And if it's a figure or a KPI or a recommendation, you can't tell from the form of the output whether it's right or wrong. And that's a big risk, that people don't understand the logic behind data and just trust that black box and take suboptimal decisions.
It was really a pleasure, Martin. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for conducting this interview. My pleasure, really.
A pleasure, Paul.